Hey guys, this is Sebastian, Natural Mystic Pollock, bringing you my first live session video for RakebackDollars.com. Okay, so we've got 4 tables up here. I did my warm-up already, which I do before every session. Typically, I play 6 tables, but today, for the video's purpose, I'm only going to be playing 4. I've been playing just for a couple minutes, so don't have too much of a table dynamic on the villains here. When this guy raises from the button and this guy calls, I have the ace here for card removal effect, so I am going to 3-bet here. And the ace-jack, I'm just going to call in position here because I think I'm way ahead of his stealing range, and there's not going to be too much that he's going to be able to continue on. This board's really not great for me. I got no piece of it, though I have 2 overcards. I'm really don't want to make a play at it, so if he c-bets, I'm just going to fold straight out to him. So we can see here that this guy has a wide opening range for stealing, and then this guy's calling too wide. So I think that steal is going to work there a good amount of the time. Let's go over some of the statistics real quick. If we take the player B here, for example, the top line here is just how many tables they're playing and their table scanner score. That's not associated with this software, so we don't need to worry about that. But this is how many hands they've played, their aggression factor, how often they steal, how often they fold to re-steal, and how often they 3-bet versus a steal. The second line here is their VPIP. Next line is their PFR. This is their cold call. This is their 3-bet. This is their fold to 3-bet. And this is their 3-bet by position, which I typically use the pop-up. The second line here is post-flop stats, which is flop c-bet, turn c-bet, river c-bet. And this is fold to flop c-bet, fold to turn c-bet, fold to river c-bet. We're going to check the 3s here. We're going to fold the queen 2 here. And then on the bottom line here, these are just donk stats, how often they donk, how often they fold to donk, and how often they raise donk. I really don't use these much at these stakes, but again, I haven't updated my HUD. This guy limped in, and now he's making a weak raise, or a weak bet. I'm just going to raise him here. If he continues, I'm pretty much going to give up on the hand, but he limped in, and now he's putting in a 50-cent bet. I can't imagine he has much. Not that we have much here, but we don't really want to be giving free cards, and his play looks pretty weak here. And again, if he calls, we're just going to give up in that situation. King 5, we're going to fold. This guy likes to 3-bet 9% here, so Jack 2, this is an easy hand to fold here. And again, we're going to re-steal here with the 8s. This guy's playing a 47-0 style, so that typically tells me a more loose passive player. So therefore, he's going to be doing a lot more calling than he is. Again, it's only 15 hands, but again, he's playing almost 50% of his hands in that hand sample. So I think that that's enough to justify marking him as more of a loose passive player. The ace-4 we're going to fold here. So just to let you guys know what my, how these players are labeled and what the marks mean. Yellow means, which I'm marking this player B right now, means they're a regular player, and it means that or 1 second, let's go back to this hand. So our hand here, it's pretty vulnerable. So we are going to bet here. We're going to bet our second pair here, but we don't want to go crazy. But at the same time, we don't want to give free cards in this spot. If we had a little bit stronger hand and there weren't as many bad overcards, we might just check back here. But again, there's a lot of draws out there. There's a lot of overcards that can come, and I just as soon take it down right there. 10-7, we're going to fold. So the yellow, again, means more of a regular player playing multiple tables, playing a full stack. Relatively, VPIP and PFR are close together at a reasonable range. And again, we don't know if they're a good regular, if they're a bad regular yet, but we know that they are playing multiple tables, and again, that they're playing solid stats. The green, again, that means more of a recreational player. Typically, that means a pretty high VPIP as well as a large gap between their VPIP and PFR, which usually indicates a passive player. Now, again, this guy has a very high aggression factor. It's only 24 hands, so it's hard to tell, and he is raising 36% of hands pre-flop, so he's playing very wide. The purple means maybe a regular player, but maybe not playing what I would consider to be ideal pre-flop stats, and maybe, from some of the plays that I've seen, maybe he plays some hands differently than I would play them, what I would consider to be suboptimally. So we have him labeled as maybe a weaker regular player. And then the blue, if you see a dark blue, that means the player plays very tight and they're playing a more nitty style. And those are pretty much the only classifications I use at this point. Again, I'm relatively new to the site, so I'm still learning the player pool as well. So when this guy checks back here, I'm just going to check and try to get a free showdown here. I could, if my hand had no showdown value, I would probably bomb the river here to try to take it away. But because my hand had some showdown value with the pocket fives, I think checking there is fine. Um, and the tables here go table 1, 2, 3, and 4 across. So if I say on table 4, on table 3, on table 2, on table 1, you know what I'm talking about. Here, I would a lot of the time raise here, but this guy doesn't appear to like to fold, so I'm just going to check back and play the hand out of position and really not try to get too crazy with it. So when he checks here, I am going to bet pot now. It's looked like, I don't know what he's probably going to be betting to protect something here, I would think, on this type of flop, on this texture with two spades, excuse me, two clubs. And when this guy checks twice, he usually doesn't have anything there. So I think, again, a bet's going to take it down enough of the time to be profitable there. Queen 4, this is a pretty easy fold here. Again, I'm not trying to do anything fancy here. Pretty much just want to play some straightforward ABC poker and look for some good opportunities where I can to take away some pots where I think the opponents don't look strong and get maximum value for my hand against the opponent's range. So, again, hopefully we'll get into some good spots and we'll have some hands to talk about for the future. Okay, the 2-8 out of position here is obviously an easy fold. So hopefully we can get a hand up here so we can play. Just talking to my roommate now. He is observing me play. He didn't realize I was recording it, but so we have more than one observer, so I'm really going to have to be on my game now. The Ace-4 suited, I don't recommend that most guys, especially if you're new to the game, you open this hand to start because it's going to put you in a lot of trouble. Here I'm going to bet big. I do have a gutter, and it's hard for this guy. There's not much in his calling range that he's calling here. If he calls here, I assume he probably has either a small or medium pocket pair or maybe a hand like Jack 10 or suited or something like that. But again, that's a great board for me to see bet, especially my range looks stronger opening from under the gun in that spot. So again, I'm going to see bet that board most of the time against his call there. And the Queen 3 suited, we're just going to fold that here. If we get raised here, we're actually going to fold the pocket fives from the button. We'll call if Ghostface calls because we're going to have position on him. One of the things, I don't like to call small pocket pairs from out of position here in the small blinds because they're very difficult to play, and we're basically playing to set mine. And if we're out of position, there's really not too many good cards that can come. So I'm going to raise to 250. This guy limps in and likes to call, so I want to get more money in the pot here. If I had aces or kings here, I might raise only to $2 because I really would want to induce a call. But I really, at this point, I don't have a hand, so I want to make it a little bit bigger. I hit this board, very hard, and I want to get a call, and it's super dry. So I'm actually going to bet pretty small here. And when he calls, he could have a 9, he could have a king. If he has a worse king, I want to get more value from him. So I am going to this guy. His mistakes appears to be he's calling too much. So I'm going to bet a little bit bigger here. We're going to open the pocket 2s down here. Again, maybe he'll jam over a king-queen type hand or something like that. And at this point, I'm just going to be betting for value. I'm just going to move all in. It's possible he could have he could have called with a bad king and have 2 pair or something like that. But if he has a worse king like King Jack or King 10, he might call there. If he has a 9, he's probably not calling anyway. So I'm going to look to make my bet bigger. And also maybe I get hero called by a 9. Maybe I get called by King Queen or King Jack. I think if he has 2 pair there, either on the flop or turn, he's probably going to have check raised me on the turn there. So I'm hoping he has a one pair king, or maybe that he thinks I'm bluffing and makes a hero call with a 9. Without knowing, depending on, again, this villain we see calls 58% of the time and appears to be more of the loose passive recreational player. So I'm going to try to get them to make the biggest mistake. If it's a maybe a tighter player who I feel has a narrower range and isn't going to commit too much chips with a dominated hand, then I'm more likely to bet small to try to get small value from his range. Here he checked it quickly to me. Again, I'm going to bet once here and then pretty much slow up. If he doesn't have a king here, it's hard for him to call, so I am going to bet this. And now that he calls, I'm just going to check behind now. If he leads, I'm just going to fold here. Even though he's only making it 250, I think that that's like a King X type hand that's looking to, doesn't want to commit too much money with the flush out there. So I'm just going to give up in that spot. So again, on this board, my hand is probably ahead of his range here. So again, I'm just going to check back. Now he bets 50 cents here. That seems pretty weak to me. So I'm just going to go ahead and raise it when the ace comes. And if he calls again, I'm just going to give up on the hand. 4-3 suited from the cutoff. I'm going to be raising here. Yeah, so his bet looked very weak, especially with 2 hearts on board. Weaker players, when they see 2 cards, 2 hearts like that, they typically want to protect their hand if they really have a hand, unless he was doing that to try to induce, but I don't think he's that sophisticated. So we get 3-bet here when we open from the cutoff. This is a pretty simple fold. Jack 8 suited. This is, again, pretty easy fold as well, too, in this particular spot. Just going back to the hand here when we had the small pocket pairs from the blinds, I think that small pocket pairs are very difficult to play out of position, and it's very hard for our hand to improve, and virtually every flop's going to come with overcard. So if we get c-bet, then we're check calling and we're playing the check guess game, which I don't think is really going to be profitable. And even if we hit a set, then they also have to hit a big hand for us to get paid. So overall, I just don't think it's very profitable to be calling out of position to try to set mine, especially against a wide range when it's hard for them to hit. So the queen jack suited, we're going to be stealing here. Pretty standard. Again, this is pretty hard for this villain to hit this board, so I'm going to bet a little bit bigger to protect my hand. I expect him to call with all pocket pairs in this spot and, fold if he just has air. So King 9 here. If this guy folded a little bit higher to 3-bets, I would probably, turn my hand into a bluff here and 3-bet because it's not good enough to call. But because he doesn't, I'm just going to fold. And again, now that this guy limped the button, he's done this a few times, I'm just going to raise him here. And he limp called. Again, I don't really know. I can't imagine his hand is too strong here. But I'm just going to check and, check it to him. So when he checks back now, again, I'm just going to check back again here. I don't think he ever checks back a jack. He could, but he's betting pot here. There's not that much money in the pot. I'm just going to give up the hand here. Not too many good cards that can come for me. And again, he could have been making a play, maybe, maybe not. But again, this particular play, if we look at him, he's playing a 21-7 style. So again, large gap between his VPIP and PFR, and has a 1 aggression factor. So typically those types of players are more times than not betting when they have it and folding when they don't. So again, I'm going to give his bet a little bit of credit, especially when he bets big. It looks like there was a lot of draws out there that he could be protecting. Maybe at an 8 and he checked behind the flop to pot control, and then when he improved to 2 pair, he was looking to 1, get value, and 2, protect his hand for a lot of bad cards that could possibly come for him. So with the ace 2 and this guy's raising, again, in our small hand sample, he's only folding 50% to re-steals. So I think we can just give up the ace 5 there. And again, we've got 2 relatively loose players here in the small blind and big blind. So therefore, I don't think stealing with 6-5 is ideal because they're going to be calling a lot of the time, and it's going to be hard for us to make any good top pair hands for that matter. So king queen suited, we're going to be raising here. Pretty standard. And again, we have this board pretty crushed. So we're just going to bet, a hair over half pot. Maybe somebody calls with a worse king. Maybe somebody calls with a queen. Now this guy's pretty much committed here. So again, I don't want to give free cards. So I'm just going to put him all in and bet 7. And hopefully he calls with a king or a queen. So maybe he had a draw. Maybe he had a pair of 8s, something of that nature, and was peeling 1 and then folding on the turn. And so this is an easy 3-bet under the gun raise, so he has a pretty tight range. Because I'm going to be playing the hand out of position and we have another caller, I'm going to make the raise a little bit bigger so I can get a little bit more money in the pot. Plus, I think he has a stronger range here, so he's more likely to call. This board here, when we've got 2 callers, I'm going to lead out once here, or I'm going to bet once and play very cautiously if I get called. I do have a gut shot in this spot. And this particular villain could be floating here. He called in position. I win races. He's only folding 29% to flop C-bets. So we're going to put out another bet here. We'll fold if he raises to us. I think it's a set virtually all the time. And when he flats, again, he's either flatting with hands like 8s, 9s, or 10s, or again with a strong hand, or he's just flatting to take it away on the turn because he doesn't like to fold on the flop very much. So he hit his time bank, so it means he's thinking about it. So when he comes back with a raise here, again, I think that his hand range is pretty strong, and a lot of the time it's a set. And when he just, again, flatted on the flop there, that he wants to Skywalker to come in. So it makes it a pretty easy fold here. So there's arguments for check calling there as well as check folding. The reason I opted to fire the barrel is, again, this guy's only folding 27% to flop C-bets. So if I check to him and he bets and I call, there's so many bad cards that can come on the river that could actually counterfeit my hand, like overcards, like if he was floating me with 2 overs or something to that nature. So I just as soon bet out there, and again, if he raises me, I'm just going to get away from the hand. So, the play was to bet fold there to a raise. So we got some foot traffic here through by the poker office. So that was the roommates, but don't worry, that shouldn't interfere too much with our mastery of the game here. Ace-4, we're in the cutoff. We're going to raise this. We're in the effective cutoff because, again, we only have, because this player's sitting out. So, again, we're really raising this as a steal. That's it. Again, 5-handed from the cutoff. I think raising most aces is fine. Especially we haven't seen too many players that are very aggressive here, who are going to be 3-betting us and really punishing us. So until we really do get punished, we can continue to steal wide. Again, the Jack-10 offsuit, we can just fold that. And again, we're just going to bet. We have this board crushed, but we're not afraid of flush draws, but we want to get some value. I think we're going to get called by all pairs when we bet even small there. And if he has air or a really weak hand, he's just going to fold anyway. So I don't want to be getting cute and just checking there, because if I check and he checks behind and I bet the turn, he's going to be folding anyway. So I might as well bet, get called by maybe 2 overcards, maybe a small or medium pocket pair, where if another overcard comes on the turn, maybe he won't call. Or even if the flush comes in and maybe he gets scared, even though, again, we're not going to have that much of the time. Okay, so we're going to, again, this guy likes to call, so we're going to raise it to $2 here. And just as I said that, he straight folds. I think that's how it always happens. So the Queen 4, again, this is a weak hand, but none of these guys, we haven't seen either of them re-steal yet with a 3-bet. So, again, I'm just going to keep raising until they force me to a difficult decision. Again, we have some showdown value here with the second pair hand, so I don't mind just checking it back. Again, I don't want to bloat a huge pot here. Um, and when he bets out big here, again, we're really not beating much other than a full pure bluff, and he's betting close to pot, so he could have a diamond. He could, and if he could have even second pair that he's turning into a bluff, or he could even have a king as well. So again, we're just going to fold there and let him have that one. If the card had come off, possibly even like a red 2 or a low card that didn't connect with the board, I may peel one and then check back the river or fold to another river bet. But again, with that card on board, again, just really not a. There's really not much I can do there, and I just for me, I'd much rather make a tight fold too early than a marginal call too late. So with this, where we have a pocket pair on this board, we're not really. I'm going to check here. I'm going to check call if he bets, and then I'll check the turn as well and check fold if he bets again here. And that queen's really not a great card for us, but we're just going to check, and again, we're going to check fold again. And so we ended up taking it down, which was good. So we got the result that we wanted. We got to see a showdown for cheap, and we ended up showing down the best hand. Now, did we give him some chances to catch up? Sure we did, but again, that's not a hand that I really exactly want to be building a pot with or barreling with, because especially on that board texture. So because again, it's unlikely that he hit the board, and if I'm barreling and he's calling, we're always behind. So again, just we had a game plan and we stuck to it, which I think is important. So we'll steal the ace 2 here. And it's unlikely that the opponent has hit this board, so we're gonna plan on betting here, and we're gonna be betting bigger, looking like we're trying to protect some sort of hand. And again, he can't really have connected too much with this board. So again, we're gonna force him to make a big call if he wants to try to float us and make a play. And again, we're going to just steal here with the king 2 suited from the button, and 7-8 off out of position. This is a pretty easy fold. We'll flat if we get raised here. If again, this player appears to be fairly tight, but really not that much merit in raising here because we're so far ahead of most button stealing ranges. So I just as soon just check call here, and if I hit an ace or a queen, most likely I've got his ace or queen dominated. And this board, it's pretty pretty connected, and hits again, he has a wide opening range. So and again, I'm just gonna check here. And the jack 8, again, if this guy folded a little bit more to C bets, or 3 bets, excuse me, I would probably 3 bet light here. And again, he's betting pot here on this type of board, and our hand really has no value, so we got away from it cheap. And again, this is a spot with pocket 7s where, again, I think they're just going to be difficult to play out of position, so I just as soon fold them there. Usually 8s are better, I'll call, and it depends on the opponent, and it depends on the how deep we are and what the table dynamics is. It's I don't have any steadfast rule as in I always fold pocket pairs or I never call, or again, a lot of it has to do with the table dynamic and that. But as a general rule, I think at small stakes you're going to get yourself into a lot of trouble by calling there with small medium pocket pairs. So again, I think the easiest thing to do is just get out of trouble. So this board is so wet, and this guy's call has no money left, so we're not going to be able to bluff him or do anything. So if he bets here, we'll just fold. If he checks, we'll probably make a small bet on the turn and put in no more money if he calls. So we check to him, he bets, and we're just going to give up there. Two, 4, we can fold. Queen 8, we can fold. Queen 9 from the cutoff. This is fine. Queen 9 suited. This is a fine open. So again, this player looks to be to more of a recreational player, playing only one table that we can see. Large gap in his VPIP and PFR and pretty high uh, uh, PFRs, cold call as well. So again, we're just going to bet $2 here. We don't have a very strong queen. We want to get value from a worse part of his range. Um, And we're just going to check back the 7 here. So this way, if he bets the river, depending, if he bets big on the river, we don't exactly want to call, but if he puts in a weak bet, so he bets 6, 7, 8. We said if he puts in a big bet on the river, we don't exactly want to call. I don't really see much that we're beating other than a pure bluff in this spot, because if he has a queen, he probably has a stronger queen. Um, and, he could have had second pair. Some of the straights got there. Now, there's really not that much here to call, but I'm just going to make a tight fold here. I think, calling I think is okay in that spot as well too, because when we check back, maybe he doesn't think we have a queen, but um, again, I think folding is fine there as well. And the 3-2, that's an easy fold there. So if someone raises it small to like a $1.50, I might call here because I think we're going to get Marco to call as well. So I think that again, I'm almost going to play set mining or two pair straights or that sort of thing. Again, I'm going to treat the ace 4 suited like it's that. But this particular player raises it to 2, and he appears to be a regular player, so he's not going to make a lot of large mistakes there with weaker hands. So again, I'm just going to give up. Plus, when we look at Marco's stack as well, we have a speculative hand that if we hit hard, it's not like we're going to be able to win a huge stack from him, and this guy isn't going to make a large mistake with a marginal hand. So again, I think the fold there is probably the best, our best option. So this video, I'm gonna break it down into 2 parts. I'm gonna play for an hour, but the first part I'm gonna release it as a half-hour video, and then I'm gonna release the second part with the session wrap up um, and the statistics and the Hold'em Manager review in the second video. So we're just about reaching the halfway point of the first video, so we're probably going to end part 1 here, but stay tuned for part 2. I'll be releasing it relatively shortly after I release part 1. So you can, after you watch part 1, then you can look for part 2 and see again, see how the session finished, and again, look at the wrap up here. So ace 5 offsuit on